We are here live to talk about conventional unwisdom. This time, uh, specifically, we're looking at three ways that leaders may be penny wise and pound foolish, and that may be an expression that you're familiar with. The idea that it is possible to do something that is on the face of it maybe going to save you some pennies, right? It's maybe going to save you from some small inconvenience or some small problem, and in the long run, is likely to cost more than those pennies that you gained. And so these pieces of conventional unwisdom that I'm about to go through, three of them, are very common in our workplaces today. Very common, and I would say leaders are kind of led down the garden path on these three things. They are so-called best practices, many of them, and in fact, I would consider them not to be best at all. It won't surprise you, since I've already called them pound foolish and conventional unwisdom. Unwise because they're pound foolish, conventional because they are so very common. So the first of these ways that I find often that leaders have been led down the garden path is that they create a kind of surveillance state. They behave in ways and institute policies and conventions in their business that communicate mistrust. So a really common one of these is that their managed service provider, the IT firm that they've hired, will sell them tracking software to tell leaders, this is how your people are actually spending your time. Don't believe what they say. Instead, look at the data. They're on Facebook, or they're playing Wordle, or whatever it is that there is tracking software that is tracking their every move, that you require salaried people to kind of clock in and clock out, whether that's literally or figuratively. The idea that that you require one way or another for the system or for the employee to prove to you that they are making good use of their time and they are only doing things as you would wish for them to do conveys mistrust. And by the way, people who feel mistrusted will feel as well. They will feel mistrustful. They will not trust you if they get even the whiff that you are not trusting them. So in the long run, this kind of penny-wise way of making sure that in the short term things are not going awry leads to mistrust. It leads to people doing only the minimum that they might be able to do to skate by. It leads to people feeling infantilized and uncomfortable at work, and so they're likely to leave. You're going to lose your best people the fastest by creating a surveillance state. So that's number one. Number two is the use of, and you'll pardon me because the caption didn't come up right, but the use of the performance improvement plan. This is the PIP, is a best practice in HR that I'm here to tell you is not best at all. In fact, the PIP, the performance improvement plan, is demoralizing, and it cannot recover from its history. So let's talk a little bit about the origins of the performance improvement plan. The performance improvement plan was not invented to improve people's performance. The current form of the performance improvement plan, it's something that a manager will give to an employee. It says, here's what the problem is. Here is the plan for getting you through the problem. Sounds pretty good, right? Here is where I expect you to sign this. So there are a few problems with this. One is that, imagine, say, coming home to your spouse, and your spouse gives you a memo that says, we've talked about this a few times, so now I'm putting in writing don't leave your socks on the floor. If you leave your socks on the floor, then this is what will happen. And here is a plan by which we're going to get you from a sock on the floor leaving kind of perpetrator to a non-sock leaving on the floor person. You're going to be taking care of your socks, and sign it. Right? If your spouse were to require you to sign some kind of agreement about how you are going to change your behavior and what the consequences are going to be for not changing your behavior, that is not evidence of a mutually respectful and trusting relationship. It's infantilizing. And so the performance improvement plan, that structure is problematic. And the origin where that structure was invented was, we've decided to fire George. And we're a little bit concerned as an organization, we're concerned that George may turn around and sue us. So you, as the HR practitioner, I'm going to tell you, the manager, or you, the leader, you can't fire George yet. I need to see a documented progression by which you've taken George from where he is to, and given him the opportunity, given him the communication to improve. All that, very good, except that the decision was made in advance of the performance improvement plan being brought on board. And people know that the performance improvement plan has that origin. And so the performance improvement plan always, or very nearly always, feels like a manipulation. People who are put on a performance improvement plan often believe that they're already going to be fired. So that reputation that the tool has, combined with the need to sign it, really makes this a destructive tool that ruins your relationship with your direct report, and at the same time also undermines the culture at large, because other people are going to hear about it. Other people are going to hear about the performance improvement plan. So the existence of the performance improvement plan at all in your toolbox can really have a detrimental effect on the morale of your team, which has a direct impact on their productivity and on your ability to retain, especially your best talent. Now, that's not to say that you don't make plans to improve people's performance and that there aren't consequences for not meeting minimum performance standards. If you'd like to talk about what to replace the performance improvement plan with, I am happy to share with you a much more effective, humane, relationship building and morale boosting, culture enhancing method of dealing with performance problems. All right, so the performance improvement plan is penny wise, pound foolish, conventional unwisdom, number 2. And number 3 is in some ways similar. It is conducting a perp walk after firing someone, right? And so the perp walk, just in case you're not sure what I'm talking about, the perp walk is you've just fired someone in your office or in a conference room, and the next thing that happens is that someone from your company, security potentially if your company is big enough, or somebody else, someone with a little bit of clout, someone with perhaps a little bit of physical stature, stands behind the person who's just been let go, walks them to their desk, looms above them or behind them while they collect the things that are theirs and ensures that they don't collect anything that isn't theirs, and then walks them out the front door carrying the box of shame under close security surveillance. Now, this is, again, it's penny wise, right? The reasons for doing this are to hopefully maybe discourage this person from making a scene. It minimizes the likelihood that they will take things from their place of employment, from your office, without permission that don't belong to them, right? So it's theft prevention, it's scene prevention, except that it is a scene all by itself. It's a scene. People will watch. People will see that security escort. It's almost like watching a gazelle being taken down by a lion. The other gazelles may be a little relieved that it's not them today. They're going to understand the nature of the beast. This is a lion. Around here, you might get fired. If you are fired, then your dignity is stripped from you. And there's no reason, there's no need. There is sometimes a need to let people go, to end people's employment. And there is never a need to degrade their dignity or strip them of their dignity at the same time. And so not only have you stripped this person of their dignity, which I would argue strips you as a leader of your dignity as well, it also communicates very loudly to everybody in the office, to everybody in the organization, that they are not safe here. Not that they're not necessarily safe from firing, but their dignity itself is potentially at risk. So, how do you prevent, say, theft and also preserve this person's dignity? Well, no problem in kind of smiling and conversational tones, walking them to the door and simply letting them leave, or and then allowing them to come back at another time during the weekend where you can supervise them closely. Waiting for after hours for something like that is another way. There are ways that you can ensure that they are no longer permitted to be alone with the possessions of the company, while also not demonstrating to everyone that they have just been fired and that they are no longer trusted. So if you'd like to learn more about how to fire people with dignity, then I would refer you to the podcast at theyesworks.com, our podcast called Mighty Good Work. And there is an episode there, I think it's one of the most recent, about how to fire people with dignity, both preserving your dignity and their dignity and the dignity and morale of everybody that you are surrounded with. So I hope that these 3 ways that leaders can avoid being penny wise but pound foolish, I hope that this has been useful for you. And as always, I am here and happy to talk about these things because I really care not only about human dignity, but also about your company's ability to perform, and finding the ways not to put these things in oppositional balance, but to find the ways in which company performance and human dignity are married. They're wed. They can be brought together and achieved together at once. I'm Aaron Schmuckler, CEO and trainer at the Yes Works, and it's been a pleasure to chat with you today. Talk to you later.